What's up guys, Johnny May here and welcome to this week's quick tip where I'm going to teach you my all-time favorite piano run. I think this is the most magical run at the piano, and the amazing thing with this run is that you can use it at the end of any tune. You could throw it in the middle of the tune. You could even use it during your piano solo. Also, this run works on any scale and it's not as hard to play as it sounds. So I'm really excited to teach this one to you. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so what is this magical piano run? Well, I want to play it for you again so you can see it on the overhead camera, and then I want to kind of break it down for you so you really understand how you can use this on any scale. All right, here it is once again. Doesn't that sound absolutely gorgeous? Again, it has such a magical sound. Now, when you're looking here at the lesson sheet music on the top left, it probably looks really overwhelming, but again, it is so simple to play. And I'm gonna break it down for you note for note. But before we do that, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, you ready to learn the run? Let's start with step number one. And basically, for step number one, you want to pick a scale, okay? So let's say you're playing a tune in the key of C major, okay? And C is like the 1 chord. You know, you can use a C major scale to play the run. That's a nice sounding scale. But a really beautiful scale that I like to use is the Mixolydian scale. Okay? It's basically like a C major scale, except we have a sharp 4, and it kind of gives it a little bit of a magical sound. Okay? So this is step number one, is pick a scale. And again, you can use any scale you want. Generally, you want to stick with a 7-note scale. You could use this run with maybe an 8-note scale, but generally you want to pick a 7-note scale. Okay, that's step number one. Step number two is to break your scale up into 2 groups. Okay, so for the Mixolydian scale, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first 5 notes and I'm going to play them kind of as a block of 5 notes. So this is group number 1, or I think of this as the C group, okay? Group number 2 is going to start on the top note of group number 1. So in this case, we're going to start on the G, and we're going to play the remaining notes of the scale as a block. Okay, so this is group number 2, or our G group, okay? So once again, pick the scale you want to use and then play your C group or group 1, and then your group number 2. In this case, this is our G group. All right? Now, step number 3 is the most important part of this entire process, because this is where you kind of take this scale and you make it sound magical, right? With a very specific pattern. So again, this is the most important part to getting this sound. All right, so what am I doing? Well, you want to use what's called a finger pattern. And the way it works is you take your first block, this is our C block, and we've got our thumb on C, so that's a 1, right? 2 is on D, that's our index, 3, 4, and 5. And you want to apply this little pattern, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, okay? And I'm referring to the finger numbers here. I'm not referring to the notes or the scale degrees. I'm referring to the fingers, okay? So just in this block, play 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? Then you're gonna do the exact same pattern using group number 2, in this case, our G group, okay? So let's apply this pattern. 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4. All right? So 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, once you've made it to the C, you're going to want to repeat this pattern up the piano. But you have a little problem. I've got my forefinger on the C, and when I started the pattern, I was on my thumb. So here's the rule. Once I get to group number 2, I'm going to skip the forefinger and I'm going to cross under to my thumb. All right, so this is very important. This is kind of like a rule for this run, is you're going to go 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so the pattern is changing as you come up the piano, and this is actually what makes this this run sound so beautiful, is you're not just playing the same thing up the piano the whole time, you're changing the rhythm of it in a sense. 1, 2. You hear that? And so you also get some really nice accents as you come up the piano and you play this. I also want to make a note that this ends up being an 11-note pattern before you repeat the pattern. So if you're starting on C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then you repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. By the way, I wanted to mention that the lesson sheet music you're seeing on the top left of your screen is downloadable and printable. You can also change the key of this entire lesson with the click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below. All right, you ready for the next step? The next step is the most exciting part, and that is to combine your patterns. And we talked about these two groups, groups 1 and groups 2. And so what you want to practice is combining them and getting them nice and smooth or fluid. So start on group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2, okay. And so what you want to do is practice speeding it up, and you want to get it as smooth as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, right? And then do it a little faster. Okay, and then a little faster. Doesn't that sound gorgeous? Now, one cool little trick you can do is as you're coming up this run, you may have noticed when I was playing earlier, I was adding some left-hand chords in. And basically what I was doing is I was just like adding some chord tones. So if you're playing like a C chord, you know, you can play just like a C major as you're doing the run up, or in my case, I was playing a kind of a colorful, jazzy, what's called a C6-9 like this, okay? So one thing you can do while you're playing the run is grab your chord, start your run. In this case, I'm going to start on the G, and I'm going to go. And I'm grabbing little chords as I'm coming up the run. And if you speed this up, it sounds really nice. Or you can break up the notes in your left hand, okay? This is what it would sound like fast, and then I'll do it slow. Okay, I'm basically playing the same chord in my left hand, but I'm rolling the chord now. Right? It doesn't have to line up in any particular way, but the key is to roll it in the left hand as you're playing the run in the right hand. Now in just a moment, I'm going to show you how you can use this run on other chords and scales. But before we do this, if you're enjoying this topic and you want to do a deep dive on piano runs and different sounding runs that you can use up the piano, check out our course, Jazz Intro and Outro Runs. You'll learn a ton of really cool little patterns and scales. I'll put a link to that below. All right, let's try this on another chord. How about a minor chord, like C minor? Or if you're playing jazz and you want to play some more interesting sounding chords, a jazz musician might make this a C minor 7. Well, what's step number 1? Start with a scale. And a great scale that you can use on a minor chord is called the Dorian scale. It's a very simple 7-note scale. Okay, this is called the C Dorian scale. It's a lot like a B flat major scale starting on the C. Okay, so step number 1, know your scale. We're going to play the C Dorian scale. Once you're able to do that, then pick your 2 groups. So group 1, we're going to start on the C. And group number 2, we're going to start on the top note, the G, and we have it like this. Okay, so just block your groups, group 1 and group 2. And then step number 3 is to apply the pattern. So remember the pattern, it goes 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do it on group 2. 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, but remember we're going to skip the 4 and we're going to reset with our thumb on the C. Okay? That's the pattern. It's that simple. So here it is again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we continue the pattern or repeat the pattern of the piano. And then back on the C. And then usually when I get to the end, you can just stop the pattern and just pick any note that you want to end on. All right, let's play it a little bit faster and you'll start to hear how the run starts to sound a little more magical. So here it is. Okay, and then a little faster. Okay. A little trick that can actually help you with these patterns also is to think of your thumb on sort of target notes. So in this case, I'm thinking of the C, the G, the C, the G, the C, and the G. Okay, they're kind of like little target points. Okay, so again, a little faster. Okay. By the way, I do want to mention you can sometimes change the fingering on this pattern. For example, you could go thumb on the F, continue the pattern, and then you do your 4 up here. So you can switch it. In other words, I'm going 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, and then resetting. By the way, if you're not sure which scales to use over different chords, you can learn some great scales in our course, Scales for Improv on Major and Minor Chords, if you're more on the beginner intermediate side. And if you're a little more on the intermediate to advanced side, we have the same course for intermediate to advanced level players. I'll put a link to those below. All right, I want to talk about one other chord that you can use this run on. I'll play it for you and then we'll break it down. Doesn't that sound gorgeous? And by the way, if you want to hear this run in context, like in a tune, I actually used it at the beginning of my arrangement of What a Wonderful World. If you want to check that out, it's a really beautiful arrangement. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm basically playing an A flat 7 chord, like this, but I'm doing more of like a sus chord, okay? And so this is a context where maybe you're in the key of D flat and you're on like a 5 chord, right? Leading to a 1 chord. Well, it's very common on your 5 chord to suspend it and then you might resolve it like this, okay? So I'm playing an A flat 7, sus 4, and then in my right hand, a beautiful scale that you can use on a chord like this is called your A flat Mixolydian scale. It's basically like a D flat major scale starting on A flat. Okay, so that's the scale, and then the next step is to find our 2 groups of notes. Now, for this particular scale, I don't like to put my thumb on the black note. That's generally something you want to avoid when you're playing scales that have lots of black notes in them. So for this particular scale, I change it and I use this grouping of 5 notes, like that. Okay, so I'm putting the C on the bottom, and then for the second grouping, I go to my F, like this. Okay, and then C, and then F, okay? So you don't have to play your grouping starting on the root. You can start your grouping on a different note if you're using a scale like this, okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? Now for this particular run, I like to start on my F grouping. You absolutely could start on your C grouping, but I kind of like starting lower. Right? And so basically I start on my F grouping and I apply the pattern. So 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, and then we need to reset. 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, and we continue up the piano, okay? So you want to do the same thing. You want to increase your speed, right? And then even faster. Okay, and then you can add those left-hand chords that I was telling you about. So for this particular chord, this is a beautiful chord voicing that you can use in your left hand, okay? And so as I'm playing the run up the piano, I'll grab this chord, and then speed it up. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the lesson, please let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 1,000 step-by-step lessons for all playing levels where you'll learn your favorite songs, styles, and how to improvise at the piano. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.